Are we ready?
I'll second that.
You'll second that head shake?
Yeah, the little line of the table.
I dare you to bring it up. I'll just grab it.
It's not that big. Yeah, no. Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, okay, kia ora tātou. Welcome, our last meeting for the triennium. We made it. Well, it's not over yet, but we made it. So thank you all. We will do karakia and then kick into the board meeting. Kia tau mai te maramatanga, kia tau mai te rangimaria, kia tau mai te kaha, me te whai whakaaro, me tēnei kaupapa. Kui e, tā ki e. Let's be grounded in clarity, let's be peaceful, let's be strong and considerate for this purpose. Going together, and so it is. I'd just like to welcome Councillor Ellis, the board member from the Golden Bay, Grant Knowles, our councillors and our board members, staff members, Chief Operating Officer Steve Manners, Sir John Ridd and Kelsey McLean. So Steve will address the board at the end of the meeting. And welcome to our constituents in the gallery today. I think everybody here knows the gist. So we will just kick into the meeting. No apologies. Any declarations of interest? Yes.
And through you, Chair, I will move myself from the table when it comes to the discretionary grant.
Okay. Can I please have a mover and seconder for last month's meeting? Yes.
Just through you, Chair, that this afternoon, we made an amendment to the minutes from the last meeting.
Yes.
So if we are moving it, can our
read
community be
them in.
aware of the amendments?
So this was part of the actions section of August meeting minutes. So are you happy to move subject to
Those changes, thank you.
the changes on the screen, which was the action was taken down and correct. It said a crack in the saltwater bus. It is not. It's a crack in the concrete at the Dex Reserve.
I just can't read it with my glasses.
That's okay.
So it will remain as an action point. Tony and I have spoken to it and today, and it will remain on the agenda from now until we get some response back from Joe Bowater.
Nice. Yeah.
Thank you.
Just that minor correction. So you're happy to move, Councillor Booker?
Happy to move.
Seconder? Second by Deputy Chair Hart. All in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone again? Carry.
I'm against,
Okay.
and I wish to raise a point of order, I believe, in relation to the minutes where our meeting was councilled and the CEO advised that, after apologising, she advised that it wasn't the CEO that councilled the meeting and there was to be an investigation. To date, I haven't received any emails about an investigation or the end result of that investigation.
Okay, so
It's not mentioned in there that there was to be an investigation and that the CEO said it was
I think it is
up to the chair
in
who
our
councilled the meeting.
in the board report, it is noted the correction which happened post. So I don't know if the word's investigated, but it was looked into and it is also captured in the minutes as a segment, but it's also in this month's board report under 3.1.
I only read that online. I haven't printed it out. So sorry.
Oh, so page 25, 3.1 of the board report, July cancelled board meeting. So it's got reference to that
Okay,
So-
we'll look at it then. So I'm
Okay.
still in objection to that.
All right, so minutes are moved,
To-
carried.
To the minutes.
Okay, back to the top. So we have got two public forum speakers today. Mr. Williamson.
Community board about on Parker Street where the protected twin oak trees are located. It will be of interest that an arborist has spent 2 days of the 9th and 10th of September 25th clearing their branches from dangerous proximity to nearby power lines and also lowering the height of the protected trees, similar to that done several years ago. I recollect in 2017. Unfortunately, the nearby neighbours don't consider enough has been done. And number 2, research is being carried out to ascertain whether Parker Street, located in a residential area, is legally allowed to carry truck and trailer units of 50 tonne, either to carry packed apples or suitable shingle to strengthen our Motueka River stop banks. These trucks have already done damage to adjoining houses and caused vibrations to the homes when passing. The RRT group have offered to supply sandbags to be filled and placed in a container ready for another event, needing protection to properties when there is potential flooding risk. This offer has been made with our current Mayor, Mr. Tim King, and he is in full support, and the community board help. Much.
You? Any questions? No? Straightforward, and thank you for being a continuous liaison with the residents of Parker Street around the oak trees. Much appreciated. Christine Schaefer.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for allowing me to speak today. So it's the last meeting of this current board and its current composition. As I'm speaking not on behalf of myself, but on behalf of Tasman Democracy Incorporated. As you may know, we have the core values of transparency. And under this umbrella, I think I wanted to just give you some remarks about the last 3 years and how, well, even though we did not exist as an organization at the start of your triennium, but looking back with the eyes of an organization over the last 3 years, I would like to just leave some comments with you. Maybe for yourself as a personal feedback, maybe for those who will continue on this board, or maybe for someone who's listening or will be listening at some point. Firstly, I wanted to acknowledge that this board has probably listened to, I don't actually know the English word of it, when something is broad, what is the noun to it? Breadth, is it? When something is broad?
Yeah.
Breadth. So the breadth of views and topics brought to your attention. And I think on a transparency perspective, I highly commend the board for probably its courage and bravery to allow this to happen. And I do know from my own repeated coming to this board talking that the email is quite long of the matters that we are not allowed to talk about, even though we still fail to see that for some of the restrictions, there's a legal framework in place or even a framework in terms of your standing orders that would narrow the topics down that much. But this is probably something that may be considered at some later point in time. Yes, in general, I would to recommend or to commend you on allowing a diverse range of views or topics to be brought to the board's attention over the last 3 years. What I remember was probably the topic that generated probably the most people in this room was probably the cycle lanes. And I do remember after that, I think we got these stickers in the room with the maximum capacity of 60 people. And I remember hearing all sorts of views from like really everybody in the community. And I thought it was a nice occurrence because it showed us retrospectively that the board fulfilled a purpose to hear the voices that are present within that community called Motueka. And I think that was an interesting thing. What also then I noticed was, or we noticed, was that it was the only time really that this board was so well attended, like in big numbers. And maybe a point of reflection as to why it was only then. Was it the topic? Was it because of the decisions that followed afterwards? I don't know. It's just a point where possibly board members could think about why only this topic attracted so many people from across your ward. Then, or maybe it was because of your limited delegations, your limited topics on your agenda in general that attract maybe not enough people across the whole triennium. I don't know. Yes, but it shows us there is public interest in political decisions that affect Motueka. And maybe something to look forward to. How can we make sure that those topics we are discussing publicly are actually of interest to those that are affected by them? Yes. What I wanted to say as well was there were other topics where we personally, like at least some of our members, myself included, we're very much involved with, obviously, tiny home one, a topic that seems to be on the agendas on and off for the last at least 6 years. And some of you elected members have tried to make a difference, be it in the last 3 years or over the last 6 years, be it here around this table or over the enrichment. Ourselves, our contribution was 2 court cases in the whole, at least that would add to the benefit of all in terms of clarity. And I unfortunately haven't seen much happening since. I know that some of you who are retiring now have had pleasure personally that we lost it. That's fine. But I think from a political perspective, it would probably be reasonable to consider what is the next possible step, because as we have heard, we have all plans on hold, basically, apart from certain exemptions, concluding on one in the next few days, until 2027. That means we will have a few years for all of us, be it in Motueka or in the wider district, that will maybe have to deal with similar things that some of us had to deal with in the last few years. So probably something to be aware of. And I mean, those who have been on your Meet the Candidates a few nights ago, I was really astonished just how alive the COVID still is for people in this particular ward. And yeah, like a point of criticism, I think from an organizational point of view, we are not quite certain that from a political perspective, this topic has been considered seriously enough, be it, through procedures. Yes, we have heard a lot of views and a lot of compassion, but in the procedural way, getting motions into the game, we would think there could be done something more, be it through being better or more advice from staff or your own trainings, whatever it may be, but more effective in terms of finding a solution, just as we found a solution for the cat bylaw or whatever else has come in effect ever since. Yes, that brings me to another point, and I'm not talking about someone who's not here. So I see Mr. Armstrong is here today, even though online. What we have seen, or as an organization, or personally, and yourself probably, is that we had a huge turnover around here. So you had, I think, 3 chairs in total, 3 years. You, Mr. Armstrong included. You had, if I remember right, was it 3 or 4 secretary staff? We have had a number of, what's it called, executive leadership team members here around giving advice. And lastly, you had one of your members not terminating the term after 3 years, but already after 2 years. So I think whatever the reasons for that, the effects on that, of that, clearly were confusion and probably a lack of inconsistency for probably your own work, but also for public perception of your work. Yes, so this is what I wanted to say. So, and then from that on followed, at least in the last few months, quite significant amount spent on financial issues around here during your public meetings. And I'm not sure if that's something relevant for the public so much, or whether that's something probably aside of meetings and maybe the outcome be reported in a report to the public, because really we don't really know much about where this money comes from and how, or invoices. So that's just something which could sort of impact on attendance of meetings from A to Z, so that people may drop out in the middle of one of your sessions. So yes, and the last point, so I noticed, or we noticed, that there was a big attempt from your side to generate content in form of your board report, which was meaningful for those who are not here, but also for those who come here. So there was a lot of information provided, and there was consistency so that we kind of knew what to expect, be it your action lists that carried through. So that's the positive side. The other side, which you probably also will have noticed, is that some of those action list items suddenly dropped for whatever reason. And, the famous Kim Drummond saga was one of them, without any noticeable outcome. And the other thing, sometimes when having had a speech, having asked a question, we received emails from the chair mostly, acknowledging the time we've taken to come and speak, and that there would be a follow-up email on whatever the question was that was asked. And sometimes, like in the case from last month's meeting, I got this acknowledgement email, but I have not received the question or the answer to the question I've asked for. And as Board Member Hughes pointed out, there were some issues around accuracy in agendas, minutes, that we have also raised over the last 3 years repeatedly. One of the most significant ones probably were those around the code of conduct times. And so, and that's probably not so much a board responsibility, but probably something to do in conjunction with staff and working relationships between the two. And lastly, that's, I don't know how to say it. So as you know, we have been to court just recently with the Local Government Commission to do with the representation review. And what I noticed there, because I was representing ourselves there, was that there was a big interest from the Local Government Commission into hearing the voices of the community boards, both Motueka and Golden Bay, about what your views were about the proposals. And because there was not much in both the Golden Bay submission or yours, those could actually not really have a big impact on either or decision for the Local Government Commission. And also the other point that I wanted to make is I mean, you will probably not be, or the next incoming board will not be asked to do another representation review, depending on the outcome of this court case. But was really important, and which I did not notice until I had seen the record, was that none of your deliberation held in public meetings, like none of yours, were part of the record being provided to the local government commission. So they had no idea, like zero idea what your views were, what your contribution was or yours in any public meeting. So that's probably something to notice for any such review in the future, to be aware of for those who are still on the council going forward, that it's really important to make sure that you have got your agendas correct and you've got your meeting minutes correct, because this is the only public record, and staff notes from confidential workshops, which you have not seen. So yeah, this is probably everything that I wanted to share. So in total, I wanted to also say you have the benefit of regular people attending, like Mr. Williamson, who is relentlessly feeding back to you on whatever the issues are he's witnessing. And I wish for you for those who remain, to advocate for maybe getting more relevant delegations, because after the whole representation review, my honest take on it is to be very fair. And even though I don't like saying it, because I actually like the idea of community boards personally very much, and I've attended them quite regularly, but without proper delegations and without proper understanding of what your role is and standing up for those roles, and using procedure, I don't think the expenses match the outcomes that are currently being achieved. But it's, yeah, and I would wish for either step up and get more delegations and do more that has public value, or maybe choose a different rule in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Board Member Hughes, do you mind giving Christine that piece of paper on your, because you have got 2 copies, that one there?
This one
That
here.
is a copy of the
Yes.
supplementary,
Oh, yes,
which you have,
feel free to.
which will be, it's tabled for today's meeting, which will be in the minutes, which touches on some of the things that you spoke about.
Yeah, I noticed that my speaking notes from last month were not part of the minutes. Is that right? Or is it still? Because I couldn't see it online. Usually you
There's
said
an attachment.
an attachment. Yeah.
Okay, well, we can check that and make sure the attachments are there.
Thank you for speaking.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Christine. Okay. All right, so discretionary fund application. So councillor Walker is removing herself from the table, and have we looked?
Does councillor Walker have a monetary interest? And so is removing herself because she could be in the position of being financially better off by this decision?
I have a lot of blood, sweat and tears in the game, but no financial interest. But we do have someone from our board here at Trust to represent us, which is Anne Martin. So I leave
Thank
it
you.
for you to speak.
I will welcome Anne up if you want to.
Thank you for asking.
Kia ora.
My name's Anne Martin. I'm the Secretary of the Motueka Community Development Trust, which is the umbrella organisation for our youth centre here called The Spot. So we've applied to you for some funding for first aid training for our staff, for a larger first aid kit and fire safety equipment. So we run The Spot on the smell of an oily rag, and it's becoming harder and harder to make sure we've got enough funding to keep it going. Hence the application to the community board. When we first started, we had staff who were trained in first aid. We've had staff changes, hence the need for first aid training for 2 of our staff. We've got three staff. And we put in place fire safety equipment, but a recent review of health and safety revealed that we have shortcomings in that area, hence the need to upgrade.
And I commend your group for the mahi that you've done in this space. And I do like the name change to Motueka Community Development Trust. I'm happy. Oh, is there any questions?
I was just gonna say, I'm happy to
I'm
move.
happy to
Hand up first.
moved by the
I think
chair,
we were all quite.
seconded by the deputy. All those in favour, please say, have you got a question? Sorry.
I've got 2 if that's okay.
Yes, sorry, Barry.
Yeah,
So
and
you're
sorry
quite
about,
us-
I'm not pretending or anything, but the quote for the fire extinguisher that's listed there expired back in May.
Yes.
So all I'm worried about is if you go and buy the fire extinguisher tomorrow and the price has gone up, our grant ain't gonna cover it.
I went back to the company this afternoon after I got the message.
Yeah.
And I've forwarded the quote
Good.
to Kelsey, and it's exactly the same amount. It's just got a new date.
That's right, that's fine, that's all, that clarifies that. Number 2, do you have any coverage for your staff, like you're gonna pay money for them to go and do a first aid course? If one of them resigns in 2 weeks and walks out the door and goes somewhere else and takes your first aid ticket with them, have you got any recompense to get the money back off them?
No, we haven't. No.
Right.
But
That's just another
we can't-
concern
we
that.
can't manage that though. I mean, that can happen in any organisation.
You can.
Councillor, something to add to this conversation?
I quite like the oily rag scenario because you definitely need firefighting. Yeah, and to be fair, and a sector I'm okay investing in people who work in social services because if they leave you, they're going to work somewhere else in social services. So it's investing in good people across the region. So I'm more relaxed, but I take it because we did use the bond as well. But,
Yeah, no, that's.
but yeah, I'm comfortable with the people that you have there that they will continue to help the community in some form. You're lucky while they're doing it with you.
So I'm wanting to see him with her.
No. Relax.
Any further questions? Okay, so on those 2, it is moved by the chair and seconded by the deputy. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone against? Okay, carried. Thank you so much and best of luck.
Thank you very much.
So the deputy just wants to make a comment on the comment.
Just commenting on Alderman Hughes' comment about the conflict of interest. You asked whether Councillor Walker had a financial interest, which is why she declared an interest, but it's up to the individual, as far as I'm concerned, if you feel like you've got a conflict. So I just feel it's really important to clarify this, because when I talk about Motueka Events Charitable Trust, I've got no financial gain in that whatsoever. And it's been made very clear around the table that I have to express a conflict. So that works the same for everybody. So I just wanted to clarify
absolutely
that.
agree. It's just that I've been looking at, been doing some research on past complaints way up the scale here. And it's pretty clear people had financial interests in
But
what
that-
they voted, but they were able to somehow just resign from positions and all the rest of it. And I thought, well, crikey, if these people can get away with this, we're just all doing good. There's no financial interest for us at all. Why should we not advocate for this?
Sorry.
We have to,
Yes.
but anyway, I
Excuse me,
understand.
no, I'm just, it's up to Councillor Walker for her to say a conflict. It's not up for somebody else to tell her that she, or question it, is what I'm saying.
I can clarify that I'm the chair of the Motueka Community Development Trust. And yeah, so
Which is the
I
conflict.
suggested that put an application in for funding because of all the reasons that Anne shared. And so if it was, for me personally, it was easier to move from the table. That's my choice. I'm now back, so let's move on.
But I take a point you were trying to make, Board Member Hughes. So we've got no accountability forms for this month, and the last note on here is around acknowledging the letter of thanks received from the Wilderness Canoe Trust that same what. So that's all of our discretionary fund today. Look at us, 4:30. Financial summary. Have we?
So I can
You're going to be
try and, I mean, look, it's pretty self-explanatory, so
Yeah.
if there's any particular question, throw them at me. And I'll see if I can help. But what I would,
Said you only want questions, not cups.
look, I think you're in I think you're in a pretty good space in terms of handing over to the next board.
Absolutely.
Sorry, just to the chair, we were going to have a meeting with Paul with regards to carrying over the training budget to next year, but we haven't done that, so can we still keep that on as?
Yep, that's in our action, so we can just leave that in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very hard to get everybody's times aligned at
is.
the moment.
Yeah.
It's still within the current, sorry, through your chair, it's still within the current financial year. So the fact that it's crossing an election from one board to another shouldn't matter. It's the fact that it's within the 24,
We're in the 25.
25 financial year,
We're in the
25, 26 financial year.
Yeah, it was the previous one we were looking at.
Ah, right.
Yeah. Are there any queries from the board? My print's a bit blurry, so I can't highlight anything particular. The other thing to note that we haven't carried over was our discussion around those pieces in the special project that we were gonna, so that's just another thing to note for the board about allocating some funds in those areas potentially. Okay, so anyone like to move or second the financial report? Moved by Deputy Chair. I'm happy to second. You've got a question, you're all good? Okay, so we'll second by Councillor Dowler. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone again? Carried. Thank you. Okay, page 15, 8.3. Request for approval to remove the Lawson cypress tree. Someone's phone.
Well,
Is it your phone?
Is that yours?
Music and his backpack.
my tummy then.
Is it outside? Oh. I'm like, I do not think it's the gentleman at the end of the room's phone. Ah, okay, classic. All right. Hello, welcome. Thank you. Tēnā koutou katoa. I'm Lynn Hall, for anyone who doesn't know me. I have a report in requesting approval from the board to remove a tree from Benton Park. So I will take the report as read. And if there are any questions. Yes, board member.
I knew this would come back and bite the community board in the proverbial.
Oh, my goodness.
This is a tree that was planted as part of a subdivision, and the neighbours are very lucky to have a beautiful park accessible by everybody. And this, in a time where council are desperately looking for solutions to save money, and how another part of TDC deal with complaints. How long have the people who are complaining lived there? Have they lived there for 45 years?
They've lived there since 1978.
Well, that blows that one out the door. Okay. Okay, so why, it's already been trimmed once.
It's been trimmed a couple of times. The neighbours' argument is that they lived there before the trees planted. So
Okay, well, that's changing everything then.
Councillor
But I
Walker's got
think
some
having
input.
I hate having to have part of cutting a tree down. I really do. But they've been there for a long time and that gives them some grounds. But
We do plan to replace them then, don't we?
We will do replacement planting with probably 2 or 3 smaller trees and a number of shrubs.
it still comes with a big cost. As I said, I'm really torn here. I'm just looking for an excuse to not cut that tree down. You have to excuse my way, but as I said, my only argument is down the toilet. So yeah, everyone should have a right to some sunshine, especially if that's grown in line with the house. I mean, they could have asked 30 years ago and kept it trimmed, but
Thank you.
funeral ceremony.
Councillor Walker's got some input or a question.
Thank you through you, Chair. So I do have a question. So in public forum, which I was going to raise later, however, the opportunity is now. So Mr. Williamson's has advised us around the twin oak trees and the work that's been carried out. Do we have any idea of what that work has come in as a cost to the Community Board / Tasman District Council? First question.
Yeah, I was afraid that question would be asked because I don't have that number at my fingertips, but it will be in the thousands. We spend tens of thousands a year managing trees. It's a big part of our work program.
Through the chair, I believe that's a separate issue. That is a historic tree. I have close connections with that tree. I had smoko underneath it for many years.
Through
We
bananas.
threw bananas.
We've heard this story.
But as I said, it's a protected tree. The people that made the decision to put a subdivision there and stick houses underneath that tree, that's who we should be. If anything, the council should buy that house, use it for, and put homeless people in it. All the homeless people that are going to get homeless, and then those people can buy a house somewhere which they won't have leaves falling in their gutters. But that tree is protected and it needs to be protected. It's been here for
2 trees there, 2 protected
Through you,
trees.
Chair, my questioning was going to be around how much do we spend
Yes.
generally maintaining trees that we are not allowed to cut down because of Mr. Hughes's stance and the fact that.
I get where you were coming from.
I was going down the track of how much money does the board spend on maintaining trees as opposed to deciding today that we are going to graciously remove said tree. But what I also wanted to clarify, which somebody over on your side of the room has quoted, that every tree that we
which we
nicely dispose of, that we plant 1 or 2 others in appropriate places out of the correct trees. I just wanted to make sure that our current budget and the constraints we sit under still allows that tree to go and we get 2 more that are the right trees in the right place for the right season.
So my understanding, it's not out of the board's budget, it is held by Lynn's budget, so that'll all be factored in with all the.
So does Lynn's budget still have the money to be able to replant? Please, thank you.
This is the board report to say that's right then, isn't it?
So
all
it's not a huge amount, this, like it's under $3,000 for the removal.
$987 is not a huge amount. I beg to differ, but I'm not going to vote against culling 1 tree.
Councillor Maru.
Happy to move.
Okay, moved by councillor Maru, seconded by Deputy Hart. Anyone against?
I'll go for it under duress.
Okay, so all in favour say aye.
Aye.
That's carried.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. Now board report. Anyone like to speak to, add to? Well, I don't know. Find that page, it looks like I was mixed all up. What have I got this little project?
It's on page 25.
Okay, I'll mix my pages up. Page 25, board report, 8.4. So I'll take the report as read. Also in addition, we have the supplementary, which is basically just a capture of reflections of our time, of some of the challenges and some of the positives that this board have had over our term. But I think the key thing I really just want to come back to is when we started out, we set our values and we set it with just the 4 elected members at the time around operating with integrity, honesty and respect for each other and our role as community representatives, providing clear, positive communications to and for the community and empower ourselves and others to support wellbeing. So some of the key things in there were integrity, communication and wellbeing, which is a really good place for this board to start. And it would have been great if we had an opportunity to also set some strategic planning around that for our 3 years, which we have talked about, and we have done some planning sessions since then and brought them into play somewhat. We've done some excellent stuff, and I'm really, really proud of everybody's contribution to some of the community stuff that we've done. So you'll see and hear our increased community engagement, holding drop-in sessions, listening to, as Ms. Schaffner said in her speech, listening to a broad view of our community. So all of those things have highlighted the positives which have helped me get through this term, let's say. Is anything in the board report that anybody wanted to specifically? Yes, board member Hugh.
I wish to speak to, drop me a piece. Have my finger in it. And now.
It's changed.
I wish to speak to 3.2. There were 10 red and 45 yellow. These do not distinguish between consented dwellings and those not consented. I note at I think it was the regulatory meeting, Councillor Walker and others put forward concerns over staff visiting people visiting unconsented dwellings after the flood, and they were talking about photographs. And as I understand it, one of the compliance officers, I'll call him Gaza, to save his identity, gave an assurance that they wouldn't be using. Is that correct, Councillor Walker?
So I can respond that, yes, I sat in the meeting. Was it the strategy and policy meeting that I would need to look up, and as you know, I take notes, so I will be able to come back to you on that.
Okay.
So there was a proposal that we had a draft regulatory, help me out here. So basically a staff member had put together a proposal for us to look at, and in that proposal was photos that some of us could drive around our community and identify, and they were just random photos that were put into the file to be used as examples of where we breach environmental standards. And I said, post the recent weather events with all of our staff having access and social media being flooded with people who had become victims to the catastrophic weather events, that I would like to be assured that the Privacy Act for those people wasn't breached, and that the files that we had obtained over this weather event, we weren't going to, down the years to come or months or weeks, those photos weren't going to be slotted in as, look how bad it was. Oh, and what does that mean for the environment, particularly around houses that we know are not consented.
So that's all right. So
Remember
look,
the report I'm talking about? Yeah.
it was just a background. So unfortunately, after during the state of emergency, Civil Defence visited a number of areas, in particular one area. I was contacted almost immediately, and I got them to document what was said. This is ongoing with the new head of regulatory, and because he's the head, I can name him, Rob Smith. And I had certain things were said which we don't need to get into. I disagree, but I had asked for an assurance that staff would not be visiting these areas in relation to unconsented dwellings. As I know that some of these people are squatting, some of these people are absolutely last ditch. There is nowhere for them to go. They, two in particular, have been thrown out of MSD certification. These are the people that used to get sent to the Graham Valley, and a couple of them were evicted from the Graham Valley. Unfortunately, the head of regulatory has stated that he can't give any such guarantees. So I would think, how many weeks ago now is it? And as the previous head of regulatory, Kim Drummond, announced that they do not need complaints to carry out enforcement action. So that says to me, we can expect action against quite a number of people. Now, I've counted officially 15, but there are a lot of squatters in the region where nobody knows who they are. And I'm desperately concerned for their safety. These people aren't rate-paying homeowners who have some sense of professionalism when dealing with people. I'm scared that there could be a confrontation, and we've seen the Tom Phillips case. I'm desperately concerned that things are going to go downhill when police visit. And as I said, police have already been, one property with a number of families is already waiting police to visit, despite him trying desperately to find a solution. He's been told that to expect police. So all I'm saying is here now, I've given up. I'm not, enforcement can do what they do. They've obviously got the law behind them. But people really need to think carefully about whether or not they're going to continue to support Tasman District Council's enforcement division and how they carry it out. I have here a document. I have asked the head of governance and others to please provide the legislation that allows enforcement officers to carry out surveillance on people. And it, to date, has not been supplied. In fact, the new head of governance, when I asked her, I was simply politely told they cannot assist. To prove the breach of the 8-week rule, unless you have a complainant that's prepared to stand in court and saying he's been living here for 8 weeks, the council has to carry out their own issues. I attended a recent court case where the enforcement officer described in detail how he held the camera as he's driving past, and he also has well over 6 months of diary entries from early in the morning to late at night, noting everything about curtains, cars parked, lights on, over trying to prove a woman may be living in a caravan. That is surveillance. They call it observations. I pointed this out, that the lawyer said, do you realise this, you're breaking the law? And afterwards, I was quoted the court case by a number of councillors, the mayor and the CEO. However, they clearly didn't read these court documents that much, because it is clearly noted in there, the description of what he did and the dialogue. I complained to the CEO, who of course stated quite rightly that council do not condone such actions, and quite rightly so. However, I have documents here that clearly show governance, and it would seem legal people are involved. Now, this is not me saying this, because I do have to be very, very careful here. This suggests it, not me, because it's being recorded. And I can see by the look on your faces. Now, I have just tried to present this to one of you, but it hasn't eventuated and nobody is talking. So I will be going public with this, and this is the start of it. And my time with council is finishing, but rest assured, I will be seeking accountability from all those that have attempted to go get around rules. We have laws to protect our privacy and our mental well-being. And the lady involved in this is absolutely distraught when she found out that a male enforcement officer has been watching her every move, including checking on whether or not her car had a warrant of fitness and registration. Would you like me to read out this? I would like to give the CEO. Would you like me to read this out, or shall we leave this till afterwards?
Is it email?
It is an email, yes. Perhaps I've said enough.
Yeah. Do you want to table that?
I certainly will table it. Thank you. Enough. There's no need to carry on this now. I've merely have done this because this is being recorded and I want the public to be aware of what's going on at the Tasman District Council in relation to the enforcement officers. Because I have tried for 3 years to do everything the correct way, maybe not the correct way. Nobody is listening. The time has come for action. Thank you.
Thank you, Woman Hughes. And thank you for the way that you presented that too. I know it's been passionate subject of yours, and you have piously tried to bring some of these issues to light. Now, did anyone else have anything to talk about in the board report? Councillor Dowler.
I was just looking for the attachment, which I presume approves the letter on behalf of the Motueka Community Board to the Tasman Regional Land Transport.
So,
That's what I was going
Does
to ask.
oh,
show up on my,
it's not.
Received it, I'm assuming that you've circulated it.
I sent it to Elsie.
There is an amendment to it because Deputy Chair kindly drafted this, perhaps, we bring it up, because she hasn't got her laptop, so she won't be able, I'll have it on mine.
You got it?
Oh, there we go.
Has it got Barry's walls on that too? Yeah. Yes.
I have to enlarge that a little bit. Councillor Maru has not got his glasses with him today.
It's okay because it's a submission to the.
Would you like me to read it?
No, because it's,
You read it?
it's originally.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah,
just wanted the others to see it because it wasn't on here.
it's not on the, okay, good. Thank you for raising that. Do you want to just quickly speak to that, Deputy?
Yes, so what happened is I saw on the news a couple of weeks ago about the Ashburton getting the bridge, which sort of got my hackles up a little bit, with the time and the years that we've been trying to get bridge improvements for us.
That was on the list before us. It was a requirement before us,
Um,
apparently.
So I guess, so just really wanted to bring it, not that it's gone off attention, but really just to put it back to the forefront. And so I contacted Councillor Dowler to get some, well, I sent an email out to her and I rang Councillor Dowler to get some of the history of it. Because I know he's the walking encyclopedia as far as that's concerned. So during that discussion, so I drafted this letter up to be sent from the Motueka Community Board to be well, it's addressed to TDC for the regional Nelson Tasman. Yeah, yeah. So I hope that that's the right process, and I think they're having a meeting
Wednesday.
next Wednesday. So really, so are we in approval that this letter gets sent on behalf of the community board?
Yeah.
No, I was just checking the timing, that's all.
So, sorry, are you wanting this to come from the community board or from the chair and deputy, because it's signed off?
Yeah, I think from the community board, yeah.
It's currently signed off on it because I can't see it on the screen.
So it's got
As,
Oh, yeah, you get all the glory.
yeah, I don't
well, no,
know.
this was just, we were literally having a discussion because we weren't sure what the procedure was as to who it was coming from. Originally, it was from Tarina, and then, so I think it should come from all of us.
I would like to move that the letter is sent to the relevant people on behalf of the Motueka Community Board. If it's.
Yeah.
It's a very
Okay,
positive.
So I'll make that change and send it through.
Yeah, I just want to set expectations. So this being state highway, obviously it's more of a lobbying role as opposed to a decision-making role.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
And then with the hope that we will hear back from Emma Spates, is it?
A man that will have an address.
Emma.
Lady.
Oh, it's a lady.
Emma Spates.
I do apologise. Of course, it could be a
There's a
lady.
few of us around,
Or-
just saying.
So, yeah, thanks. Yeah, so, okay. Thanks, John.
Yes, Councillor Murray.
I wasn't going to, but it's a tail end of some of the content of Nick's, and it's something that Rob's been really honest about in his response, but I have a fundamental issue in our blurriness between help and civil defence role and not being able to forget something in a compliance role. So I think it's just something as an organisation we need to flesh out a bit in terms of civil defence has specific roles of immediately making sure people are safe. And that just happens to be staffed heavily by our team. And I'm grateful that there's people to do that. But I'm often told we can't unforget things. But we're putting ourselves in a situation where people might not want help and want to respond in times that we need them to take help and respond because we can't forget things in the future. So I don't think I'd feel comfortable without saying it. I'm still uncomfortable in terms of the outcome of us being helpful, protecting life and property as much as we can in a civil emergency, and then revisiting that information when the immediate threat is gone. So, and I don't know what the answer is, but I'm uncomfortable. But that's okay. You've had, I just, just in terms of.
May clarify through the chair, irrespective of this substantial comment you're making, the involvement of council staff going out to those properties during the event was in the minority, the substantial minority, particularly if you then extended that to enforcement staff and regulatory staff. The significant majority of people that ventured out into the areas that we've spoken about today was either LANSAR, RT2, which is the professional recovery organisation, and or support staff, we call them surge staff, from other councils around New Zealand. Tasman District Council staff were very much in the minority of the people visiting those properties.
Probably through the chair, you don't need to answer, but I guess the difference for the information that's collected by them, do we then use that internally for council issues, or is it just purely for the civil defence emergency? I suspect it's for the civil defence emergency and the immediate planning. That's the fundamental difference if it is in the minority and there's some other roles. So I suspect there's not a whole lot of case files and notes about consenting statuses. It's more like we need to move. There's a risk of moving. There's a risk to life. There's a risk to property. So I guess that's the reflection I'm just asking for as we work through that.
Absolutely understand. Those situations were ones that we had several conversations about throughout the event. One that particularly comes to mind is the Motueka Valley Road, where there was a significant slip that was a threat to households, and finding out who was present was foremost in our minds, not whether or not the particular structures were consented or otherwise.
Thanks.
Councillor Murray makes some really good points. Are we able to document that, please, Kelsey, because this has come
I
up.
think we just have an ongoing
Last week.
conversation about.
Clarify this.
Councillor Walker after board member Hughes. Yep, quickly make your
Oh,
point.
it isn't long.
Oh.
I know specifically the person involved. The compliance officer involved has a history with one of the landowners here. This is an ongoing, like a neighbour battle, so to speak, okay? The people that were doing the visit were civil defence and they were absolutely wonderful, okay? You know, they were good. One of the people had warned the civil defence when they heard they were going up the road, they said to be careful. And the exact words were, well, we're all right. That's what we've got him for, okay, for protection. So, you know, everyone was very open, but the civil defence staff were absolutely wonderful. And I do know this is clearly only, and so the enforcement officer knew where he was going. He's been there before a number of times over the years. This isn't an isolated, this isn't a, I'm just going there if I want to, you know, by chance, okay? He has a specific history with this area, one area, and I won't go into it too far because we do want to protect these people. I do not, I've already had many phone calls really concerned. They can't, some of them have left, but they don't know where they're going to. There is nowhere else. And if there's nowhere else, you then become a cornered animal. And some of the people of third parties have said, man, I hope they go and don't see Gaza. Who knows what'll happen, you know?
Councillor Walker.
But hey, no social conscience. It's all good.
Thank you, through Chair. Just to note that when we went into a state of emergency, we did have a social conscience because we upstood and they're still standing in our community with these ladies called our navigators. So really grateful that Tasman District Council is viewing people's wellbeing very seriously through that event and has still got contracts with us currently. So when we go into a state of emergency, it's paramount that we keep our people safe, for which I honour civil defence wholeheartedly, SARS team and every other RTT2 team and all those others. I guess what my concern is that when we go out and we see something, we can't unsee it, but it is about people's safety. So we aren't taking records from that moment we're in, you know, in the response phase about worrying about people's limbs reports. So I think that's the messaging that our community probably need to know, that when you're in there, you go and you make people safe, you bring resources to them if they need it. We walk away. Yeah. And we don't go back with whatever hat we're wearing the next day and then go, oh, by the way, while I was out there, I saw this and it's now going on their limb. That's my question. I don't know if you can answer it in this.
It's not a question I can answer, but
Okay.
flood damage and things like that would
Yep.
likely get incorporated into a future limb report.
Yeah.
But
But not through the state of emergency, will it? Or does it?
not necessarily through that reporting, as far as I'm aware. I don't actually know the full detail of what I'm talking about, so I'm probably not best to comment, but areas that are flooded or areas that were affected by the floods, in this case in June and July, are known geospatially, so they're known on maps, and that information may well be incorporated into a property report or a future limb.
Yeah. Okay.
And I want to draw a distinction between property reports and limbs and issues relating to consenting. Because one's about impacts to the land and the other one's about structures. The significant majority of people who visited those properties wouldn't know one end of a consent document from another. That's not what they do.
That's why I'm saying it won't go straight away on someone's limb report because they wouldn't know whether it's consented or not. Yes.
And as for 3.1, the council meeting, your 3.1 doesn't address my concerns. Especially since the decision was necessary for public safety concerns. And obviously staff, but the Motueka Aerodrome Advisory Group went ahead, so they weren't concerned about poor old Stephen Batt bearing the sunshine to get to the meeting. And
Wait,
if so,
meetings weren't cancelled.
yeah, but it's still got TDC staff, and I note that why didn't, at the same time then, if that excuse was used, why didn't they cancel the regulatory, which was only going to be in 2 days' time? They should have, the excuses don't add up, and we still haven't, there is no investigation that I've seen. I was assured of an investigation to find out who cancelled the meeting without involving the chair, which is a breach of our standing orders.
So you're posing a question back about why the other meetings weren't cancelled.
If there's an excuse here been given, but it doesn't add up because, as I said, poor Stephen Batt and the secretary had to bear the sunshine.
Yeah, fair point.
I think I'm making a fair call here.
Well,
And
I can add some clarification if you'd like, board member. So I can't speak to the membership of the Motueka Aerodrome group, MAG, but certainly myself, John, Richard Kirby, Rob Smith, were all involved in the EOC either the day before, on the day of, or the day after the emergency. So those are 4 members of the executive team who would have otherwise been able to be present for this meeting. I think other staff, but I'm not wanting to name names, were involved in the welfare function that would have otherwise contributed to this meeting. And there was a suggestion from the police that we didn't want people being on the roads unless they absolutely had to on that particular Tuesday. So the Motueka Community Board meeting was different in the context of the meetings that we had scheduled in that day and the days afterwards than those other meetings that you refer to. And it was Leonie who made the call to cancel it in the midst of the state of emergency and all of those other things that were going on. She didn't recall that she'd made that. Subsequently, when Tarina questioned her about it, she
remembered.
She investigated what had gone on. She found out that it was her fault and she's apologised for that. She's apologised for the fact that it wasn't coordinated with the chair in the way that it should have been.
Thank you. I will, it was the chair that was affected, so that's good. I will accept that then. Thank you very much.
Deputy.
I'd just like to please put this to bed. What we've been saying in the past, or in particular board member Hughes, is wanting apologies. Apologies if something's gone wrong. Now we have an apology here, but we still don't seem to be happy. So Leonie Ray spoke to the chair and apologised for what happened about the incorrect meeting protocol wasn't followed. And I think that should be the end of it.
Okay.
There's more to the reason why I'm saying this. There is a reason, okay, but I have accepted it, and that's it. But if you want a bit more, why wasn't it councilled a long time before? There was a gentleman wanted to speak at the public forum. It was all over Facebook, and it was a lot for him to talk and tell his story. And if you heard his story, you'd be amazed. And it was funny. My thoughts on it were, I know why they've councilled it, because the very early in the morning after he said, I'm going to speak at public forum, it was councilled. Sorry, me thinking of conspiracy theory, but that's why I thought it. Then I listened to the CEO and she said she didn't do it. She didn't know. And I went, oh, okay. Here's another example of staff doing things apparently without the CEO's knowledge. This is where it's all part. It's not really a big deal.
Yeah.
But I got told it wasn't her, and now I completely accept it. Okay.
Thank you.
And I apologise for any concerns that have been caused amongst other. As I said, it's Tarina was the one that was affected, not myself, and that's all my apologies.
Thank you, board member. Councillor Ellis.
Thank you. I just wanted to add that it was not the only meeting that was cancelled, and that there were other hearings and meetings that were cancelled because they pertained to the area that was involved with flooding. The hearings for the reserve management plans were cancelled as well. So it wasn't an isolated meeting, just for clarification.
Thank you. Any other points before we move this report and all its content? No? Okay. All right, so Deputy Chair will move the report, including points 1 and 2, which includes the letter to the Tasman Regional Transport Committee. Seconded by the Chair. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone again? Carried. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Oh, hold on. We have actions inside this report, eh? Let's do the actions really quickly, page 29. Councillor Walker, financial summary.
Yeah, I was expecting Molly to be here, so sorry
that's
that
okay.
she's not. So we met yesterday. We meet fortnightly. They have got some exciting plans of what they'd like to see done, what an event for our local community before Christmas.
Great.
So I have spoken to Kelsey and asked if this can stay as an open item so that we can, hopefully when the next board is formed, hear what their proposal is regarding A, what they're looking at doing, and B, whether they need any money for it or not.
Well, there
Thank you.
is money there, so it'd be great if they would
Yep.
utilise that. Thank you, councillor Walker. Primary Services Lane. So this was the planting down by the pathway behind Hotel Motueka. I can't recall all of our conversation around that, but it looks like Steve Elkington is estimating an allowance of 200 for grasses, 30 grasses, and weeding every 6 months, which is a further 60. So I'm assuming it's $120.
So through the chair, we missed the rinse budget now. So the question was, this came up when we were trimming all budgets going. So when we were going through the process of cutting all budgets, was this provided for ongoing maintenance was the question to Steve. So this is the answer. So I suspect by the level of budget he's saying he can absorb it in the parks already exhausted maintenance budget. So good luck with that, Mr. Ridley.
Anything further on that?
Yeah, sure. From a line, they'd probably all walk past and pull a weed out every day they saw one. Save your maintenance completely.
Yeah. Whose role's that? Who's speaking to residents? Mr. Elkington?
Maybe it was almost for your time. I might go and do it myself.
Well, you'll have a little bit more time now soon, councillor Dalla.
Just name it in the minutes.
C8 hot rod in and do a skid, pick the weeds up, go home again.
There you go. Continuing your community service. Okay, so are we closing this action?
I think you can close it. We'll just get on with it.
Thank you. As said by Mr. Rudd, they will get on with it with councillor Dalla's help. And the next one is you, Mr. Rudd.
Yeah, so we're catching up, Claire, tomorrow, aren't we, with Ian?
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, so I think we'll have a conversation tomorrow, and I guess you get feedback to the next board. There's a bit going on there. I wanted some specific data around traffic movements and stuff, so we've got that. So we'll go through that tomorrow. Just context is everything. Yep.
Okay.
So I'd leave that on there if I may.
Yep.
Will that also pick up Parker Street?
Yeah. I've actually was interested because I did see that's on Ian's.
Yes. Yeah.
I noticed that, so I'll get some.
I guess
So I've only got. I'll
Parker and
tell you what I've got.
And
I've got Paul Street, Queen Victoria Street.
Atkins.
The original
and King
letter,
Edward Avenue.
Okay.
so the original letter, sorry, through the chair that I sent through that we were initially discussing was Parker, Atkins and Parr.
Okay. Parr. And then what about Paul? No.
They
Okay.
call
Yeah.
them.
Now,
So-
just
Just that side of Motueka.
Yeah, so I'll get the data for tomorrow on those two as well.
Those are those three ones.
So I've got Paul,
Oh, right.
but I didn't have Parker and Atkins, and Ebenezer.
Now, also just for information, sorry, through the chair, so we've asked Barry Dowler to attend the meeting as well.
Oh, have you?
So, well, he's got nothing else to do. No. Well, we just thought, you know, he's got the history as well.
I have to tell the truth. Then.
And then Ian, and yeah, so.
Yeah, that's cool. All right.
Do you? Councillor Motu.
So just through the chair now, Councillor Dowler is going to be that probably relieves some of my concern, but don't limit your conversations to those streets. So don't limit your conversation, because the issue is, what is the business community's view in terms of State Highway 60? What are the King Edward Street residents concerned? Because somewhere the traffic's going to have to cross to the west, and wherever you make that call, there's going to be somebody that's not going to be happy.
So we can't limit it, but that was we just got the traffic movements for those streets.
Yes.
And we're well aware that it's going to have an impact.
Because my understanding is there is some ability to limit weighted trucks, because we did it through Road on Weety or somewhere in terms of damage to road. So, but just the unintended consequences is some other person.
Yeah. So that's a bit what we want to go through tomorrow.
Cool. Because Mr. Down will be down by the time it's fixed one problem. We won't be here for the second one.
Councillor Dowler, response.
Talking about HPV, which is heavy permitted vehicles. There is a list of roads they are allowed to travel on.
Yeah.
And if they name aren't on there, they're not supposed to be there. And the list I've seen does not include Parr and Parker.
Interesting.
But if a policeman stops a heavy truck and trailer and takes them to the weighbridge and weighs them, and they're within the normal weight that is allowed on the road, you don't need a heavy permit. It's not a thing the policeman can do about it.
Yeah.
So it's on the day, on the time. If they're overweight and they need a heavy permit, the fine starts at several $1,000s.
Now,
I mean, the police putting up someone under suspicion and then finding they're legal, that's cost that firm quite a bit of money, hasn't it? If they were travelling legally and the policeman pulled them up, it's quite
we've got the meeting
quite a
tomorrow.
tightrope, isn't it, to go to a weighbridge?
Policeman can pull up a heavy truck with nothing on it, just check the driver's logbook to find out what he's doing.
Oh, okay.
So,
So, part of the world.
Yeah.
That's the airline the youth police do.
Oh, that's all right then.
so we've got this meeting tomorrow, so we'll report back. But there is one thing that I would just like to say that I just found quite humorous. Is, as you know, I have been talking about the heavy trucks ever since we had the roundabout, so 2 years. Petition, no acknowledgement at all of the petition, which I've mentioned that before. And so it's not a new thing, me talking to TDC about the trucks. And I was getting information. I feel like I was being fobbed off a little bit. And then Councillor Dowler sent an email. And all of a sudden, voila, we got some information. So I replied back and said, absolutely wonderful information we've got here. In future, I shall address all my emails from Councillor Dowler and I will get a response. So thank you.
27 days left, love. I'm not counting.
Get all your emails in now. Okay, so that one will stay on. We'll hear from that next month, the new board. The next item, page 2 of 4 of the actions, that has been shared, so that can be closed. That's the managed out documentary link that council will be shared. Next one is Steve Elkney again, so the Foster Street footpath.
I think that should be VOSPA.
It should be VOSPA. So this is the corner, yeah.
So 11 o'clock yesterday morning, Steve and I met on site. We walked the length of footpath that he was talking about, but that's mentioned. At this stage, it's a 1 metre wide piece of concrete hard against the curb. If you look to the north and to the south, The footpath is actually away from the curb with the grass strip on each side and physically wider. So this bit in the middle is the horrible link. So we measured it, bringing the concrete footpath or tearing it out because it is getting old and a bit decrepit as well, and it will become dangerous soon. Moving it 600 away from the curb, so I'll put a 600 grass area down there. Increasing the width of the footpath to 1.5 meters, so that two people can walk comfortably on it, whatever, or pass each other going opposite directions. So it's in front of the council flats, most of it. So he was talking with Jane Park today at the office to make sure that she was comfortable that whoever mows the grass out in front of those flats, which I presume will be Nelmac, would be comfortable with the change, which you can't see any reason why not, because they'll actually be mowing his grass. There's two privately owned properties down the southern end that he will go and door knock and show a plan and explain to them what happened. Spec of the fag packet price yesterday was, he thought $15,000 should do it. So if the $10,000 was still available through the community board, through the projects, he's researched the footpath maintenance budget, and he is pretty certain that he could come up with the balance to make it happen. He will come back to the board in the near future to get it all confirmed. So job done as far as I'm concerned. And it's going to make it a lot better and a lot safer.
Thank you for that.
Did you want to keep it on the?
Yeah. And I think just update that action with that the community board had discussed at the August meeting about it being part of the special projects of that 10,000, just so it links it on nicely with Steve coming back. Yeah, Roscoe Street. Thank you.
Sure, what my name's.
Yeah, to organise a meeting with the action. Well, that you, Mr. Williamson has addressed us regarding the oak trees, that the trimming that was planned for July has just recently happened. But there is still some concern from residents.
So in reality, that's going to continue. I don't think we'll ever satisfy the residents, so I suggest that one goes. And we deal with it as and when. But that's your call, Chair.
Yeah, so the main thing was we're tempted to get a meeting with staff and the residents, and I had seen in an update that from Richard, that Grant, heard from Grant, he was just got back today or yesterday. He was going to contact the residents, so perhaps if we can just put that as on that action, just to close it off, that Grant Reburn will connect with the residents, because that's been a long-standing, and times just haven't worked out various things, but it has been something that staff were willing to do just to better understand concerns and try and come up with the resolve. But we do appreciate the trimming actually being done, and it was said that it was going to be 30%, but I'm not sure. I have gone down to have a look. Not that I would know. Yes, Lynn.
I don't know where that 30% came from. It's certainly not come from our staff. We would never agree to 30% reduction.
A big chunk of a tree.
Yeah, it was significant. So I think the last time that was done was a couple of years ago. To that level.
We have done work on that tree probably every couple of years. We have had it assessed numerous times by our consulting arborist. We have met with several of the residents a number of times, you know, on an individual basis. So they are aware of our stance and we are aware of their concerns. But the tree has been maintained in order with our consulting arborists' recommendations. And certainly we took the top down probably back down another 6 meters. So that's 6 meters off the top. It's fairly significant. I just had a look at the trees on the way here and I thought they actually look good. But the residents clearly have a different viewpoint.
I would be, through the chair, I'd be happy to put on record that I was there at the time when the decisions were made to do the subdivision. And there was a group of people that visited and assurances were given at the time because of worrying about the trees, because they did cause a lot of problems, that they were going to make the areas around the trees a reserve for the subdivision.
Yeah.
And it just didn't happen. So if they want to hold someone accountable, it's the developers. It simply is. But it isn't your problem. You know?
Well, it is now, does council maintain that? Councillor Walker.
Thank you, through chair. I guess my question is where's the liability sit? So if somebody gets hurt due to those trees.
Yep.
Where does that leave the liability sitting? Is that a Tasman District Council? And is the work that's been carried out, albeit not 30%, but 6 metres from the top? Does that mitigate the risk factor for everybody? Okay, our liability and those residents.
So we'll inspect that the arborist will inspect that on a regular basis. So that, that assessment will pick up if there's any risk, and they'll deal with any dead limbs or anything that will cause any injury at that point in time. So that's the only safeguard we've got, really.
And that
You
has
could get a
been
big
raised by
wind
the
come through and
residents.
the whole thing changes, but at that point of inspection, that's when
Any more than 30%, I'm climbing up the tree and chaining myself.
we're never going to find a solution to
No, we're not.
that. So that's
But
why.
we are doing our bit to mitigate
Well, yeah.
risk for those who are affected by the trees.
Well, that's why the residents want to have that meeting, and I think they want to have it as a group of residents. Not I think, they want to have it as a group of residents with staff rather than the one-on-ones to talk through that, because there are members of that area that don't live directly under the tree, but it still impacts them in some way, whether it's navigating the path and having to go on the road or whatever. So that's why it's still a subject that needs to be worked through. And whatever the result is, I don't know, but the concerns are there, and Board Member Hughes's point is correct, and council also acknowledged that. Council did fight for that reserve to be a lot larger than what it is, and the developers chose to build up to where they have. And now there are several properties impacted. Well, I don't know how that would look. You could.
Unless you're a tree expert, you go, half the time you go in there, go, oh, that's a lovely tree. And unless you're worried about the shade issues, you just, it's very easy to go, not think about it until afterwards. So I appreciate the other position, but anyway.
And I think just on that, it does raise that point, which we have had around the table around maybe getting other points of view, other arborists' points of view on some of those contentious subjects, because it may help either way. Okay, so we're going to leave that one on the table. And if the next board want to take it off, they can, but it's a contentious topic that probably needs to stay there until it's hashed out. The next one, special projects. Oh, okay, so we haven't managed to do that one?
There was two that we needed to come back to them on. One of them was the footpath. And the other one
Which
was the
is
drinks fountain, which
you've also looked into.
Barry's looked into that.
Number one, can't really say about number one because I think it's in committee still.
Okay.
Number two, I went to the department for water supply to the fountain, which would have to come from a council supply because the Laura Ingram well is not compliant for drinking water standards these now under the new regime. So the closest spot was actually on Hall Street. come down the alleyway. And then link up to a fountain at the playground there somewhere. It would also give the opportunity for a supply to go to the old library if it's going to be reused, to the memorial hall, which is still used, being supplied from the well by Laura Ingram, I understand. It's not coming off the council supply anyway. And also the over 50s building,
Club, yeah.
I think is still supplied by well. So the cost could be shared through that, but council are only interested in putting the connection in on Paul Street and a water meter. So anything from that point down the walkway and to a point would be the cost of the board. So we'd have to get a price from someone, plumber or something, to dig a trench, put a 25 mil aquathene pipe down there and run it to the water fountain and plug it in. And then I think it's I did look it up, $2,800, I think, to connect to the supply on Paul Street. So you're probably not looking at $8,000 anymore. You're probably looking at closer to 10. But if those other buildings were to be connected at the same time, council would have to get the gorse out of its pocket and contribute to it because they're all council buildings. As far as that's my world anyway. That's you share the costs. You've got a 50-metre anchor pipe. You're going to supply 4 buildings, divided by 4. The laterals that go off to it. The only thing is, there's only 1 meter would be supplying 4 buildings, so you'd have to have a mini meter at each building, each site, to work out how much is being used by people, so they would pay the bill. So it just adds a little bit of, but I certainly wouldn't drop it at this stage. If you just want to run one supply down and put a fountain, whatever. Because it's a council fountain, I suppose, council will pay the water meter cost for the water being used. The board will just pay to get the pipe and the fountain installed and the connection.
We'll keep that on there then and we'll just explore a bit more and get some.
I think it's, well, you've got the fitness thing apparatus right next door too, so, and, you know.
Yeah,
And
makes
also,
sense.
sorry, you've got the tennis club, which
That's
could
right.
connect as well.
Yeah.
Councillor Walker, thank you, Councillor Jella, very helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you, through Chair. So I have a different story to what my colleague councillor Dowler has. So
Love it.
somebody else in this room and I may accidentally bumped in and had a conversation about this just on Monday. So my understanding, and clearly I think our staff need to go back and look at records and then come back and clarify it because it's quite a difference between where the water comes from, the quality of the water. So my understanding is Memorial Hall was taken over by the government through the health over COVID and it became a vaccination site. Yep. So at that point, the water supply failed or ran out, or there was a hiccup with it at that point. And because of the procedures that we were working under from the government at the time, a well was put in on the Motueka Memorial Hall site. So they put a new water supply in there with UV treatment and all the things that are needed off that. And my understanding is that that well now feeds to Laura Ingram as and when she was operating as a building, Memorial Hall, what was the old library, the over 50s club and the tennis club, because the tennis club actually get a charge from Tasman District Council for use of their water. I think I have
$21 a year.
I think I have that correct from the source over there in the room. So depending on, and I don't know if like water's done well, whether that water supply would tick any of the appropriate boxes well beyond my pay grade. However, I think before you go any further, we really need to work out where the water supply is coming from, how safe is it, what's the security of the water before you go putting my name towards any 10K for filling up someone's drink bottle by Memorial.
It's going to say yes.
Also got councillor.
Oh, no, my information's been preceded because it came from the same source, but the version changed.
So
On Sunday, I was told it was.
the councillor Walker's the updated version?
Yes, on Sunday I was told that it was town supplied the tennis club, but it seems that the tennis club comes from Memorial Hall. Like, Lynn.
Then we'll confirm.
Your version, Cindy, is correct.
The well was always behind the Memorial Hall. It failed around the time of COVID. We drilled a new bore in the same place. So the water for all of those buildings comes from the bore at the back of Memorial Hall. It has the state-of-the-art filter in it. So currently it is compliant, but under the new rules and regulations for water done well, or however it all comes together, whether those filters and whether water is going to be sufficient to meet those health standards.
So that was why then we thought 8,000 would be, because that well is there, is that?
So that the well is there currently supplying all of those buildings.
Okay, so if that's okay, if it ticks the box,
We would question putting in a
Fountain.
drinking fountain now, knowing where the water. Yeah.
It's fine. Look, I went in about 3 days after the last board meeting and asked the question then, and I was taken into the office and I went, there's no water supply, council water supply there. Talking about the reticulated system around the town. And that's all those guys want to know about. They don't want to know about private bores or any other bores. So
it just highlights the ongoing,
just to say, hey, Mike, this is.
Yeah.
I can tell
ongoing.
you also that there is reticulated water on the corner of Paul Street and High Street, and also at the far end of Memorial Park. There, that feeds that subdivision to the east, if you like. So there is reticulated water there, but I think you're probably right. If we were to hook in, it would probably be best to come from Paul Street.
It was just the shortest distance that we
Yeah,
looked at.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
less disruptive than footpaths and sports fields and stuff.
So can we still look at the water from Paul Street then?
I think it's probably worth considering, and I think is from our perspective as a supplier of water, and given that the Memorial Hall was used in COVID and could be used in future emergencies, we probably do need to ensure that our water supply is not going to trip us up in terms of health. Yeah.
No, that's cool. That's great to get that information through because the water guys couldn't tell me that. That was the whole point, so.
It's an interesting concept, isn't it? Because like Rexon is still on board and is the welfare centre in an emergency.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think there's a bigger question. I'm uneasy about $10,000 on a water fountain when fundamental our water supply to existing facilities and stuff is probably compromised in terms of the new regulator. Because it is public, like it's water provided for public consumption. So it may be easy to put a water fountain next to when it's all done, but we're adding another filling station and not addressing the ones we've already got.
Yeah, should have been in the swimming pool meeting.
Well, see, that's the bit is where do you want to spend money?
Well, this was, it came back from the consultation.
Yeah, no, I get
so,
that. I get, yeah.
It's not my project. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll leave that one.
Leave it to the new board.
Yeah,
They can put another nail in it.
yeah, see where it goes.
I know the other projects were the money towards the Great Taste Trail. I can't tell what the
Yes, that will be in this next, what's not in here, but that's what we were wanting to put that plan towards, but we haven't got it in this one, so it'll have to come back the next board, hopefully.
Okay.
Um,
It is documented though, isn't it?
it is, it just needs to, the board just needed time to go through it because it was a late item, I think. So I'm just. There's, I don't know, I'm missing something. Yes, that service request and staple issue on staple.
Yes, I put that through.
It was
Okay, so that's.
straight in my eyes.
That's changing.
Okay, so the, I don't know if I'm informed here, but the Staple Street, safety issue can be closed. Deputy Hutt has put a service request in for that. Then Tony Strange, officers are providing an update on the special project. Okay, so Ted Red Reserve will come in the special projects. So we can close that off, this actions list. And then the financial summary. Yeah,
We're just gonna, we're gonna deal with that.
yeah, can close that. Okay. And Steve Richards. Officer update, Heritage Wharf business case.
So just an update on that, I sent through a request for Steve Richards to address the new board in November's meeting to give them an update on the project, rather than doing it, not having all the information. Yeah, so
Okay.
if that's all right, Kelsey, you got that request? Yeah.
Okay. So all of that down to option 4 is all part of it. And then the last one is, again, it's on the special projects.
So,
Okay, so that's the one that we amended.
So it's not.
Yeah.
So there's no crack in saltwater bath.
this is the playground.
Stand down, stand down.
So
So that's updated. So that will just sit on there as, to make sure that crack gets fixed. Okay, special projects. Oh, I did it and then I forgot we had actions. So unless anyone's opposed, we'll move forward. Okay, 8.5, page 33. Special projects, I'll hand over to Deputy Chair. Oh, she's just had a lolly. Typically, no warning given, sorry.
So Dex Reserve,
Bike tracks have been installed.
So Tony's advice earlier, to stay on this list because we just need feedback around that crack in the concrete by the 4x4.
Yep.
Because we have a 12-month warranty, we just need to make sure we've got all our ducks lined up, that if something happens, it doesn't
Yep.
come back. Because it's our special project.
Okay.
3A.
Oh, 3, well, that one even.
Yeah.
I like it
Basketball.
4 because then I might fit, yeah.
Crack and concrete at decks. So
So we
that's just
still
the
need to keep
next.
that on
update.
our radar.
That's correct, Kelsey.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then Ted Reed Reserve, where are we at with that?
So we started to install the Eagles Claw, sorry. And then realised that the cap on the landfill was really, really shallow in that place. So since then, I've recently just sent out a consultation to the neighbours because we want to move it further back onto the reserve where the cap is about 0.7 a metre. So I think the Friday this week is end of feedback. I haven't had any feedback, so assuming that I don't hear anything, that will get installed probably before Christmas.
Okay, great.
And one of the other special projects was a picnic table in that area as well.
I might have my shade, but I see that
They
in the
don't get-
photo.
No,
Right, okay.
no.
Then so the existing playground, what happens with that? It's just stays as it is.
I think we'll leave it as it is for now, although it is getting old, so sooner or later it'll either have to be removed or replaced. And it's a shame that it'll be a bit disjointed now because the floor will be over the back towards you, but
Say claw, you mean nesting.
yeah, the nest swing is called an Eagles Claw, so it's got a big frame,
Oh, yeah.
point frame.
Right, which is the claw
Big
bit.
swing.
Councillor Walker.
Thank you. So I get that the old playground potentially sits on that site that we don't want to be digging into. And that it's aged. will the position of the claw that you're calling it, the nest swing, will it be positioned to the point that once we decide that the old playground is no longer fit for purpose and it's not safe, that if in time there was some money, saying there is today, but you know, in time, where we put this new piece of equipment, are we thinking about maybe the playground be reinstated in that safe area? Or are we just a one-off swing and not worrying about its positioning?
Yeah, I guess potentially we could add additional equipment there. It doesn't have a high use. You've got a school just down the road. Got the little bits of play equipment at Rewalk of Reserve.
So herein lies my comment about why we're investing so much on one piece of equipment if we're saying that potentially we don't need the rest of the gear there. Why add to it?
The staff, the project, when I was talking to the school, they sort of discourage people using the school's playground equipment because
Security issues.
security, and also they have to maintain it. So they have to pay that is from their budget. Something gets broken, so.
So I just think that would be sensible if we're going out consulting with the neighbours that potentially the nest in years to come could be more like the whole playground in that location. Just want assurance that we're not just going to put one thing and then go, oh no, we couldn't actually move the rest of the playground once it's no longer fit where it is, because we're going to come across a house again.
Safe area for the swing in the future. Yeah.
Through the chair, I think that's possible, but big the whole site is the whole site. It's not them.
So I question why we're still going to get the basket. Why aren't we putting it somewhere where we know that that site being likely kept?
Well, it was just the public feedback. They wanted a playground in the Walker because the growing population and the
Young family.
and the young families, and also the fact that some of them don't want to use the school.
Yeah. Good points.
So just a question, so if so it's a reserve, sorry, then, Chair. So the rules around it being a reserve, doesn't matter if it was an old landfill, presumably.
Through the chair again, landfills throughout the country are used for, yeah, turned into reserves, play areas.
Rugby field.
Yeah, so it's not an uncommon use for these. So I think that's quite safe in terms of the level of the cat. Okay, the service management committee talks about it being used as play areas.
So yeah, so it's looking promising. Okay,
Thank you.
thanks. Saltwater baths.
Plantings.
That's the plantings, that's all been
Complete.
done.
Closed.
All been done, closed off. Motueka Key, oh, we're going to have a update next
November.
on that one, Motueka Cemetery.
I move that Claire takes care of all of these things in November.
Might not
I
get
think it is.
I'll leave it in your capable hands.
So yes, cemetery.
Yes, we're just waiting on the gates to be powder coated and the gates will be installed, and that will be the end of the board's contribution. We're also getting all the white posts and all of that painted as well, but that'll probably come out of our operational budget, so it'll be tidied up. Yeah.
Nice. Right, and then the Primer. The Primer Street, so that has been sealed. So that can be closed off as well, I believe. That one there, Kelsey, yeah, that can be closed, yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
And then Kelsey's done an update of our completed projects and the financial overview summary there. Is that my last page?
Yeah. Oh. We also need to go through the public.
Oh,
yes,
yes.
yeah. I'll move that.
No, please say aye. Deputy just made a really good point.
So we've
Here's a good advice.
we've inadvertently skipped the public forum items.
Would you like to make them?
No.
Listening to our discussions on the trees. Thanks, we can acknowledge that.
So the trees, we've covered that. This, so sorry, going back to Ian. So the trees, that's ongoing. The Park Street and Streets, we've got a meeting tomorrow at 2:00 with myself, Ian Williamson, councillor Dowler, Bill Rice and John Red. BDC. So we'll report back about that. And then the item number 3, rapid relief team, printer supplies sandbags. I think that's a fantastic. So do we add that to a special project for a container or something for them to go into?
But we put it off until November.
Sorry.
Should have asked Mr. Williamson in the public forum, but the sandbags, some areas over the years, mainly in mid-Canterbury where I came from, they threw them in storage and that when they went to pick them up, the bums would run down.
Yeah.
And sand fell on the floor. So it's just, in fact, I don't know what the new bags are like. I've never seen one of the latest ones, whether they handle that or not.
I can add something information, Chair. RRT were extremely helpful during the emergency and subsequent to that, particularly with Enhanced Task Force Green. The recommendation that I suggest the board consider is keeping the sandbags empty somewhere. RRT have a machine which they can move here relatively quickly. And they can fill a considerable number of sandbags. I think they did a demonstration here somewhere at ITM, I think it was. For just the reason that Councillor Dowler's identified, once full, the bags might lose their integrity, and then you've got the devil's own job to try and do anything with them. But empty bags in a container or in somewhere are easier to store. They can be filled sort of, within a couple of days of getting the machine up from Christchurch, and easier to move if, let's say, for example, something happened in Takaka. Motueka might want to choose to supply some bags that they've got in store over to Takaka. Easier to move empty bags than it is full ones.
And the rapid relief team, they've got the sand all there with the machine. Where does that come from?
No, not necessarily. You need to get a supply of sand, but there's reasonable amounts of sand around at various, Philton Hogan's yard or whatever. That getting the constituents is not the hard part. It's actually manhandling full bags of sand once they're ready to rock and roll is the problem.
Yeah.
I watched the machines across the ITM, amazing how many they can turn.
So did I. I was filling them.
Well, didn't see you there, but anyway, the biggest concern I saw was the cars that were leaving with the sandbags.
Councillor Walker.
Yeah, thank you. A big round of applause and acknowledgement to the rapid response team, because they have really stepped up. I mean, they were already present in our community, but over this event, they've really been there. So post the July 11th events, they put a demonstration on, which I know the mayor and others went to in Richmond and filled some more sandbags. And being that we had predicted potentially yet another weather event happening, which we were all prepared with, the demonstration bags were trucked over here and are currently sitting on a pallet. Last I knew with ITM, because I had to go and organise it because someone was in hospital or somewhere else that normally does it. So we have got some bags currently sitting here, so it's probably a good thing to one of us to talk to ITM and get the message out that people, if they want them, that's easier for them to contain a bag or two at home in preparedness for whatever October's events may look like, if there is one. Not that I'm preempting that, Richard Kirby, because I know you'll be telling me off. But the thing is, yeah, they step up really quickly and respond. So yes, we could look for a special project for a container, but there lies a whole lot of extra costs that go with that. Like, where would you locate the container? Whose responsibility is it? And as Councillor Dowler said, those bags aren't designed to last forever. So I appreciate all that are to get done, and mindful that there are bags still here. But
So-
just for us to continue to foster that really good, strong relationship, which I know.
That's good value, is I think, keeping that relationship up with RRT. They were amazing.
And so were ITM.
Mhm.
They were up with free sandbags right from the start. Yes,
Yeah, thanks, Judy. And therein lies a little bit of the challenge, is that there was a need for sandbags in Motueka early for some residents that experienced flooding at lower level issues. And it was ITM and the community that stood up to do that, and then ramped up and thankfully saved by RRT. But where do we get bags from? Where do we get sand from? Who pays for the sand being transported? It relied on a whole lot of goodwill. So I'm not advocating for a whole lot of sandbags and containers, because I actually agree with you. But where the board can help is that who pays for the sand? Who pays for the bags? Where are they stored? Where is it done? Is there a cost to get RRT here? Who authorises that? Because the residents can't wait. And it wasn't like people didn't want to pay. They just physically couldn't buy a sandbag in Motueka. They were buying compost bags. And so it's about being ready with the bits, and the bags was a key part. So having.
so can we have a storage of empty bags at ITM?
Yes, it makes sense.
Sure.
If they're happy, the partnerships with it.
We've built that rapport with them and relationship.
Because I can't remember the quantity, but it was a horrendous quantity that we got bags from anywhere we could, and they were all filled. But it was a scramble to get bags. We had the machine, but we had a bag issue.
So ITM itself, they filled, Peter Faithful thought we rented out about 3,000 bags.
Wow. Yeah.
So I guess that's part of being a resilient.
That's right.
That's part where the board could be involved.
Yep.
Around, could we fund some bags? And can somebody liaise with ITM what next November looks like? ITM potentially, and maybe somewhere else too. Huh?
There's something coming.
Yeah, I know. We missed the memo.
Is that-
I think there's a conversation to be had with the emergency management team.
So could we keep that as an action for us to pursue that? Because I think that's a really,
Joe Kennedy is quite keen to explore that.
yeah. So for us to look into the emergency, sorry.
Through the chair, I've been asking in Golden Bay for a long time for our own sandbags, and there didn't seem to be any. And then suddenly when we did have the flood, they miraculously appeared from nowhere, and nobody seemed to know where they came from. They disappeared the next day, did the job, disappeared the next day. So I'm still trying to track that one down. So yeah, the mysteries of sandbags are not necessarily easy. I've been trying to find somebody who's going to pay for them, where they're going to get stored, and nobody seems to be, they seem to be passing the buck over there. So yeah, you guys obviously had a better relationship with RRS, right?
I suspect they would have come over the hill if that's where it was probably the nature of the emergency and the type of and the number of people that were involved here, certainly in that first event, that kept RRT this side of the hill. Yeah, I got the impression that they'd go anywhere.
Yeah.
That was the demonstration we got.
Yeah.
And that's, you've got a precursor that they'll go to the place where the most need is needed. If we have something that's it's a balance of where that need is. So if we can help by having at least some sandbags And if the need's a little bit higher somewhere else, then our residents can still go and hand fill the bags and.
And that was my point, because, you know, the hill can go down anytime. You can't get them over there in an emergency. So, you know, we need our own store. That was our.
While we're on the subject of sandbags, one issue that we did find at the very start when ITM put their hand up to provide them for free is we were trying to find instructions of how to fill a sandbag, because there's a certain way that you fill it. and
Thank you, Claire.
So we ended up finding the instructions on Tauranga Council website. So I would love TDC to have something, you can just cut and paste it from Tauranga and just put TDC at the bottom.
Share it, you did.
Oh, that's right, yes. So I think it's really important, you know, I know it's sort of, we're getting down into the nitty gritty, but something when you need it, basic instructions, we couldn't find it, so we just printed it from Tauranga Council.
Thank you, Tauranga.
So we really do need to lift our game.
Just whack service request through to the constant. They put content on the website.
There's an action.
Yep.
If you already got the content, you can share it.
Let's have a course on how to fill sandbags.
Yep, okay, no, I'll do
Don't have
that.
course, just the instructions. Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
Which are the action?
Oh, yeah. That's for the. Yeah. So then we've got Christine with some very thorough feedback. And there is one comment that I would like to mention with regards to the financial discussions. There was a point about the feedback. In order for us to get more people, let's not bore everybody with financial details. But my response to that, which I've just made some notes, is in contrast to that, we're always being asked to be transparent and not have meetings behind closed doors. So I guess we can't have it both ways. We're either in the public and having a meeting, as uninteresting as financials are. If we start having those meetings behind closed doors, then there's going to be complaints because we're having those meetings behind closed doors. So I believe for accountability and transparency that we do still need to talk about the financial sides in public.
I agree. As a matter of fact, TDC are continuing to refuse to release financials.
Yeah, just to add to the context what you've just said through your deputy chair is that, I don't know if you recall, but we've sat here for a few community board meetings where we've had financial reports that were inadequate, missing information. And we did drill down and we spent quite some time those evenings trying to get a response to how can we pass something which is a financial matter. And so, yes, I do get that the public forum are hearing those conversations, but actually that isn't good use of anybody's time. And I think that's probably reflecting a bit more about what was presented at public forum as opposed to not being transparent with what we're spending the money on. That's my take on it.
And sorry, Deputy, I'll just carry on from one of the other points around how we had so many people interested in the cycleways map topic. And I think we've had quite a few full sessions, but that definitely was one of the biggest. And we were talking the other night about how to get public interest in different things. So how, when we're consulting, so I think I said with the speed management thing that's just happened, I think was there 280 responses, and we've made some drastic changes to speed in Motueka based on 280 responses. For me, that's not significant enough to get, you know, big change like that. But then it comes back to the point, how do you get community input into some of these big issues that they won't know impacts them until it happens? And that's just humans. We're busy and we're only really going to pay attention to things that matter to us. So I don't know how you make it more interesting and try and capture people. We have tried many ways through social media, from being right outside the museum to try and attract people to come and talk to us about benefits to them. But it's just one of those things. Yes, Councillor.
It's quite interesting because you occasionally I hear the news on the radio if I'm driving at the right time. And today there was something about the government was really wild if they got 8,000 submissions on a certain topic.
Yeah.
That's just going through at the moment. Wind the clock back about 3 months, and when our Hot Rod Association and the Federation of Motor Clubs applied to the government for yearly warrants for vehicles over 40 years old, they received just under 14,000 submissions. It basically stopped the NZTA office. They didn't know what to do with the mailbag, basically, or the emails. And a yearly warrant on a 40-year-old car in relation to what the government were talking about today, which I think was something to do with the education system. 14,000 versus 8,000. It just blows me away that, do we really care quite often in the right places? I don't think we do. I'm really rapt that we did get our yearly warrant on our 40-year-old vehicles, but I think that today's education or health or whatever is far more important than that.
Yeah.
No one seems to worry.
Well, I don't know if they don't worry. It's just maybe it's so complex that they just don't bother with it. Or
Well, I can tell you that our little wee regime of 5 in our office that put the thing through spoke to people.
yes.
And they were very surprised if those whole 13,000 submissions weren't read. They said they asked technical questions that they knew was in some of those submissions, and these guys answered them. And they were hidden things that they asked questions on. So, you know, it's different, eh?
Yeah.
Really different.
And that's a topic of interest. Councillor Walker.
I think through you, Chair, I think part of also Christine's conversation was around, so when you come to public forum and you present, you, Chair, personally have done a really great job in actually thanking people and acknowledging through an email, but there does appear to be gaps in what staff and other responses are that come back to the people who make a big effort to come and speak in public forum. And I'd like to propose that new borders we'll relook at what that looks like and whether it's not because we're not capturing it in the action points or what the level of delegation is for community board, but there does seem to be a gap, and I've heard it from others that they come, they make a big effort, and for some it's not easy to come and sit and talk in front of us. How do we respond? What will be the template or the way forward for whoever chairs the next board, and how we actually have some true meaningful engagement for those who make an effort to come and speak? And I mean, that's one of my notes I've written from
Absolutely.
her
And
presentation tonight.
I'll just carry from that. So I'd also made a note, and it's reflected in our supplementary information around initially when we were under John's strategy services and strategy, the process and relationship there was a little bit different. So we were managing to get actions out earlier so we could respond to those questions. And then with the change, we, you know, and lots of different secretaries, processes changed and stuff. We just can't get that. We're just not getting that feedback straight away. So there's just that delay. I mean, Kelsey's been brilliant, but they are tied up with a lot of governance stuff and sitting at council and that. So for me, I definitely seen a change when we switched departments of how quickly we could respond to our public forum speakers.
Also, just a couple of notes from Christine's presentation was, she mentioned about the community board potentially having more delegations. Now, I could be wrong in this. So when the new board gets elected, do we, when do we go through and decide what our delegations are? I'm asking you.
Yes, but the board can ask for delegations.
The short answer is you don't, the council does, because the council delegates authority to the community board. And so we look at the delegations register first first council meeting, sorry, second council meeting, because the first council meeting is the swearing in and all that kind of stuff. So that must be, quick check, November?
Yeah, the delegations will probably be staggered. It'll be some of when the structure's set, that's when we can do the delegations. The meetings that we'll have first will obviously be addressed first, but they may not all get done at the second council meeting, if that makes sense.
So when you say council, just the delegations, do you mean staff?
No.
Councillors, yeah.
The council.
So how do we, so if we want a delegation in a particular area, we talk to our fellow councillors.
Some of those, through Madam Chair, some of those delegations are governed by legislation. So it's not necessarily that council can delegate some matters because legislation doesn't allow it. I know when we had the conversation with the Golden Bay Community Board about establishing a local board, which is a different structure, the view at the time was that the existing community board already had the maximum allowable delegations, whether there was a couple of small things that, sorry, not necessarily small things, there was a couple of things that we added to that. Otherwise, they had all of the delegations that legislation provided.
Here, I assume you will too.
So,
Yeah, they're the same.
Yeah.
so can we, so do we have a list of the delegations and what we don't have, but we could have?
The intent post-election is to do two things. One is a specific introduction for the community boards. Part of that will be what's your work plan for the next 3 years. And then we'll start talking about that. But Steve's right, you've got limited delegations under the Act for as a community board. So what's the role this plays? So you've just got to be really clear. There's only so much you can get. But let's have a conversation post-election for whoever's sat around here, because we want to really work on the planning for the future. What do you want to achieve?
And then the mechanism for achieving the delegations that you'd like to see within legislation is through your ward councillors, because they're the ones who vote on the delegations at full council.
There's certainly delegations the board can ask for, council decides. So in Golden Bay's terms while I've been around, they've run some of their own bylaw reviews. And if you want that popularity, hard work and never being able to make a decision that everybody's happy with, the board in isolated parts, if it's just something relating to Motueka, can ask for that. But yeah, and Steve's right. So the difference between local board and community board, local board, all the delegations are off right. Plus there's some annual plan submissions and bits. The other, and that's soft things, parks and reserves.
I remember in you and I's first term in 2016, we got a number of delegations that were in a previous term. So
Excuse me, things that are on over the years, and we, as Councillor Maru indicates, that we did get to do some bylaws, but the bylaws were only because they weren't up for review, and we wanted a amendment, and so council came back to us after we asked, said, go for it if you want to do it. But so it has to go through council and come back to the board if we want to go through the procedure, which we did. And it was a good learning curve and a good, so if you've got some bylaws that aren't up for review, then go back, put that to the council and that you'd like to see that.
Perhaps we're all jumping ahead of ourselves. Got to get elected first.
well, that's what John was saying. We need to discuss that when we've got the new people.
But I, as far as bylaws, we need to important things and some things to carry on with the councillors. So clearly nothing's happened, but the 8-week rule, we've been advised that it's up to the councillors to make this recommendation. And we found that out months ago, and there hasn't been any movement there. So are we waiting until the new councillors are elected to make a decision on whether or not you're going to recommend the same thing we recommended back in February last year?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. We didn't find that out till later.
You know, you either support the community board's recommendation or you don't. And so at any time you can make a recommendation. So if it's not going to be done in this triennium, you'll have a new person. And hopefully I'll be along at public forum to ask if the new councillors are going to make that recommendation to council. And then we can have another 4 workshops maybe. Thank
Not
you.
we. You and I.
No.
No, sorry, there was just a couple.
What about me?
Or you.
Oh, sorry.
You can't go either.
There was just a couple more items that was feedback from Christine is, we just need to be mindful, I think, of the action list. I've just made some notes here from a presentation. Some of the action lists have dropped off, but there's not particularly a solution. And this is from the public forum's perspective. So I guess we need to,
Again, I think that was some changes
right.
in the secretary role where
And the other,
things like correspondence and that also dropped off.
Yeah.
So it's been brought back on now,
Yeah.
thank you.
and then the last point was, the agendas and minutes, making sure that we cover, this is not to do with Kelsey, this is just
No,
the,
poor old Kelsey.
she's
End
amazing.
of the buck.
But, you know, if we could just be, we maybe have them a bit more detailed so that if that's all the public's reading, then we
Talking about actions.
talking, no, the public records need to be accurate, which is the,
Oh, right.
which is the agenda and the minutes. So if the public are only reading the minutes, do we make it, I don't know, this is just a question.
Tell you.
What detail do we go into? Because we know what it means, because.
No, and to be fair, I've been really happy with the public forum statements now that Kelsey's
Yeah.
been, because I don't know if you guys remember, but some secretaries ago, it was just like a so-and-so spoke
Yes,
and there was no info. So
it's good that it's detailed.
Without prolonging the conversation, but what you've got with Kelsey is experience, very experienced governance professional.
Yeah.
Whereas with Emma, she was a customer services team leader. She might have, she
which
was
is
a great
very
communicator,
administratively
yeah,
awesome.
great communicator, but there's more than a subtle difference between experience and governance. So that's what Kelsey brings. And so therefore the minutes are reflecting the decision making, and people need to read that if they want to, in conjunction with the agenda item.
Can
So
we
that's
just
what
make it clear? Emma and Kelsey have been awesome.
Oh, I'm not downplaying.
It's just all of the changes and switches in between that.
The other thing
Been a
that's,
juggle.
through you, Madam Chair, the other thing that's important to know is that as it stands at the moment, the requirement for our council is not to provide a verbatim record of the
Yeah.
meeting, right? Now, if that is something that this community board wants, then that's a change from what is the established governance of our meetings and the way that we go about doing it. And that would need to be something that we consider how we go about supporting, right? So not saying that we can't have a fully minuted meeting, but at the moment, it's not a requirement that we do so. And it's not been requested that we do so through a formal mechanism of changing the way that we provide governance. And so when you see the minute record from council, it's very much so-and-so spoke, or it's this decision was recorded.
Yeah.
So I just caution you on what we're asking for versus what we're getting in terms of a verbatim record of council. One of the things that we do is record the calls. That is our verbatim.
And I think, totally agree. That has been raised, but not through the formal process. And the reason being is because we have lost recordings in the past, so we haven't got that to reflect on. So,
And I think it was just important to acknowledge the comments and feedback.
Yeah.
From
absolutely.
Well, it's the only way we learn.
That's it.
It's the same when we do, when we
Yeah.
talk next week,
Catch up.
it's about improvement, what we do. So we don't dismiss. What we're saying is there are some limitations.
Yeah.
But we need to learn and improve, otherwise
Yeah.
we'll never get better.
And I'm very grateful for that, because the system is a beast. And so when you have good people working within it that are willing to try and go on a continuous improvement journey, it makes it really helpful, especially when you're handing over to others. Was there anything else?
No.
Deputy Chair?
no,
So, sorry, that was just a sidestep something we missed along the way, as it happens. Got to happen once in your term. So if the board has anything else to say, I'm just going to hand it to Mr. Manners, but I'll just open it up to, did anyone have anything else they would like to add?
I was going to say, like, we've got a 38-page agenda today.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the last meeting was. We had 9 pages of minutes. On Thursday, we're talking a 2,000-page agenda at the meeting.
Just one part of it.
That's one part of the agenda.
2,500.
It's unreal.
If you recorded the
Yes.
meeting fully,
Yes.
the quantity of minutes.
Which reflects the huge amount of money you councillors get paid.
It does. A little bit more than the community board, unfortunately.
It also adds to the argument of people who are actually standing in this election, not really knowing what they're into, and I kind of feel for them because I think there's a lot of naivety around. I'm going to stand for council and change things.
Yes.
It's going to be rather interesting to
It always is.
let them see 2,000 pages. It's going to
Yeah, the realization of it. Yes.
I know Barry's retiring after 25 years, but he will no doubt say, I think it's 25.
Oh,
22.5, mate.
well done.
7.5 on this board, and the rest on the council.
Where's his gold watch?
Yeah. Sorry, can't afford it.
As I said to someone today, it would have been a better life sentence if I'd topped me missus. Yeah, probably just.
Great to that,
that was me.
Oh, crack up.
So I'm no longer going to be here as a
No.
community board member. I have my reasons, but most of it's to do with health. But it's been emotional. And I know I haven't got things right a lot of the time, but tried all I can to make a change. I'd love to quote, it's not my quote, but it's from a man I deeply admire. Politics is supposed to be the second oldest profession.
No, the first.
My recent experiences show me it shows a close resemblance. So look, I wish you all the best in the future for those standing again. You possibly will see me, especially if you're doing something I don't like. And as I said, you probably won't hear from me because I reckon on the day after my tenure here finishes, I will be deemed an unreasonable complainant like I have been for the 2 years prior to my election. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Nathan. We appreciate all that you've brought to the board, and Barry, happy retirement. I know you're going on to do other things. And best of luck for everyone else.
Who am I going to get to send my emails now?
Oh, you have to go to these two.
Just falsify.
Yeah, Barry will still have some about, no doubt. So I will hand over to Mr. Manners.
Cool. Thank you. So look, I just want to say thanks to all of you for your service to the community, particularly those of you that are not standing again in the elections, and also echo the theme that came through in the board report. It has been a difficult triennium for this board and for staff. There've been lots of membership changes. There've been membership changes, and there's been leadership changes that we talked about in the board report. And also want to acknowledge that the support for the board has suffered from a number of changes. But I do hope you agree that Kelsey has brought not just stability, but also a considerable amount of governance experience to the role. And John too represents a change from what we've had in the past. And I think that reflects well on a positive start to the new term and the new triennium. As a board, you've faced issues head on that are impactful for the community, and not least of which was the floods that struck us in June and July, and the effects of which are still with us and for many in the community. I do hope that the difficulties that we've had between board and council have not defined the contribution that you make to the communities, the community that you serve. The board have demonstrated an unwavering commitment to hearing the voice of the community, and that's valuable, even if the message is difficult for us to hear and even more difficult for us to change quickly. As we move into a new triennium, it's my wish that we take the learnings from this one with us. John and I have already had some conversations about how we would like to do things differently in terms of community boards and how they continue to work with the ward councillors and council and council staff. So finally, on behalf of the Mayor and the CEO, I'd like to thank you all for your service to Motueka and the community, but would particularly like to recognise your role as chair with this small token of our appreciation. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve, and thank you, John and Kelsey and everybody here. We will finish with karakia. Kua mutu a mātou mahi mo tēnei wā. Manaki tia mai, mātou katoa o mātou hoa o mātou whānau ai o ki te rangi. Woo! Well done.